What up? I think I shaved from last time. Dude, that's what's different. That's something different. We're doing the same thing, man. I enjoy having a place to just like sit and yap. And then I can like look back on what like whatever the hell I was yapping about. So we're doing this again. Last time I was here, I was talking about Switch 2 and how, everybody's kind of little herky jerk about the pricing, which like I get it. I'm not gonna sit here and say none of that shit's just not expensive. Like, Switch 2 is expensive. Right now, I'm playing Rocket League on the first Switch. Did y'all, by the way, see that compatibility list that came out? That was something. I was unaware that was gonna be a thing. I figured that all Switch games were just gonna run, but no. Apparently, there's a whole compatibility issue with some Switch games because they're essentially doing a like Switch emulator on the Switch 2. It's apparently it's not like an emulator, but it's maybe like an emulation layer. Think like maybe I'm thinking probably like Rosetta on the Mac, like how for when they did the switch to ARM, a lot of Mac apps were they needed time to natively port to Apple Silicon and to ARM based platforms. So Apple made Rosetta, which was this like translation layer. I think it's probably something like that. If I had to guess. Oh damn, nice save. If I had to guess, it's probably something along those lines. Ooh, nice save. Damn, he got me. I got juked. All right. Well. Anyway, I think it's something like that where it's a, it's like it's a translation layer on it was a translation layer. It's probably something like that where they're translating Switch games, but then there's gonna be games obviously where that's not going to work entirely. Apparently, Rocket League is one of those games, which sucks because Rocket League is my turn my brain off game. Like, I don't play Rocket League competitively. I just play it to, like, dick around. This is my, like, veg out kind of game. Like, I don't care. There's obviously no story to care about. I'm not even that interested in, like, playing it, like, ranked. I just play the game to play the game. Anyway, yeah, no, the last time I started yapping, it was about Switch 2 stuff. Damn. That was a good fucking shot. I kind of want to clip that. I'm clipping that. Anyway, yeah, the last time I talked about Switch 2 stuff, or the last time I was yapping, I talked about Switch 2 stuff. I still stand by everything I said in that, by the way. I think a lot of things about it are like fairly priced. Literally the only thing that I can think of that's not fairly priced is maybe like more has come out regarding pricing as well. So the upgrade packs, at least for Zelda, it looks like, are gonna cost $10 each if you want to buy them, or they will come with Switch Online, which awesome. Specifically the expansion pack, which I will just say this right now, Switch Online plus expansion pack to me has more than proved its value, especially now after they're also releasing GameCube games on it with Switch 2. Damn. Alright, that's fine. But yeah, no, I think most things on that console are actually pretty fairly priced. They're just expensive. Like, I don't think that I don't think it's an unfair pricing. I think it's just a lot of people will not be able to afford that, and that sucks. That's a problem, but it is what it is. Because I would much rather people who worked on that game, and that's the other thing, is like I also know corporate naivety. Like, it's all those profits are definitely going to the top, but I would like to hold out hope at least that those who worked on that are getting fairly compensated with the right amount of money. And also, like, I won't say I've produced anything to that scale, but obviously, I've worked as in a pseudo producer role with some of my shorts and whatnot that I've done so far, and I get it. Like, it can be really rough trying to like figure out how the money all works itself out. It can be difficult. Still no news on if pre-orders are ever going to pop back up. I'm thinking that there is a chance as we get later and later into April. We're almost, it's April 11th, so we're almost halfway through April. I feel like there's a chance there might not even be pre-orders if the drought goes on for much longer. Because they were like, oh, we got to delay things because of the tariffs, and then the tariffs themselves got put on watch, they got paused. That's its own. I'm not gonna. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about that anymore. That shit just pisses me off. Anytime I even think about it, that shit just pisses me off. So I'm not gonna talk about it. No, today I actually wanted to talk about just dumb tech stuff. Because I don't know. I very much enjoy. I very much enjoy ripping in. I don't know if this is everybody can, fact check me on this or whatever the fuck y'all want to do. I don't know if this is a consequence of getting older. I don't know what it is because I'm still quite young. But I feel like especially as the days go on, I get more and more annoyed by dumb tech stuff. Tech used to be, and I know there are people on the internet that have talked about this, but it feels like tech used to be more fun. For context, I used to upgrade my phone basically every 2 years. And now, granted, it hasn't been 2 full years. It'll be this September that it'll be 2 full years. But, I got my current phone in September of 2023. And I have absolutely no, I don't care about upgrading. Because, my phone doesn't, there's no point. Let me put it that way. Do you get what I mean? There's nothing that I feel about, oh, I need to upgrade, or I need to do this, I need to do that. I really don't feel like that. It's not... It doesn't really feel like I'm missing anything by not upgrading. And, obviously, I have an iPhone 15 Pro Max. Obviously, the 17 hasn't really been revealed yet. But I remember when I was younger, I used to be way more tapped into the tech sphere as a whole. And I used to, really watch all those... I used to watch a ton of YouTube coverage of trade shows and CES and whatnot, and mobile, MWC. And I used to tune in to, all of the different keynote events from Samsung and Apple, and I used to watch live streams of Google I/O, and I used to care. That's the long and short answer. I feel like I used to care a lot more. But now I have a phone that does everything I want it to do, and that's all I really need. Is the thing that does everything I want it to do. And I don't really want any more than that. Mainly because having the option. Okay, so all right. I'm gonna say something controversial. Here we go. Hot take time. I am a Android convert. I used to be an Android user. I am now a full-time iPhone user, and I don't think that I'm ever going back, and that is because when I was on Android, and don't get me wrong, it's not like Android's options are bad. Like, I do. Like, to this day, still, I had a Z Fold 3, I think, is the one that I had. Whichever one the first one was with the under-screen camera on the inside. Like, it was underneath the screen on the big screen. It wasn't even a hole punch. It was like straight up underneath the screen. Whichever one was the first one. I think it was a Fold 3. Because I had that, and then when the 15 Pro Max came out, I switched to iPhone. And the thing for me about Android is, like, to this day, sometimes I do miss having the, like, huge screen, and sometimes I do miss having, like, good multitasking on my phone. But as I've gotten older, two things have become more and more true. One, I have streamlined the shit out of my workflow to where multitasking really doesn't matter to me. And two, the work that I'm doing has become a lot more specific. So, for example, I am predominantly most of my work is in cinematography, and a lot of the work that I'm doing within cinematography is not like, it doesn't require me to have like 13 different apps open at once. And don't get me wrong, I liked that option when I had that big screen and when I could like switch I was totally cool with having the option, and I don't think, like, if iPhone introduced that tomorrow, I wouldn't be sad about it. But I also just don't care that I don't have it. Like, because the stuff that I was doing with it when I was, not specifically a cinematographer, the stuff that I was doing with my phone was a lot more broad in scope. And so having the option to multitask, having the option to like open a ton of different apps and, make things like easier for myself and multitasking and whatnot, that was nice. Now, what I need is like one app at a time, at least. Like, I need to check my email and I need to respond to my emails. And so I do. Like, that's like, I open Gmail and I respond to, like, I respond to emails. The other thing is also, I feel like as I've gotten older, I've regressed in my technology in that I spend a lot more time on my computer than I do on my phone. Like, I spend a lot more time on my laptop than I do on my phone. Because, I don't know, I like having the bigger screen. Like I said, to be able to do certain tasks, I like having the bigger screen. But at that point, if I'm just going to have the bigger screen, why not have a much bigger screen? Like, even my Z Fold 5 on, like, in comparison, was nowhere near as tall as my Mac screen is, and maybe about half the, like, length that my Mac screen is. It was not, like, it's big for a phone, but it wasn't a big screen. And at that point, I might as well just use my laptop. If I want a big screen, I'll just use the biggest screen that I own. And I understand that there are some people for whom, like, that's not an option, and I like, I appreciate that maybe they'll get more value out of it, but at the same time, I would argue that the super big screen folding phones are the most expensive of the phones, so why not just get, like, you can, for how much that thing costs, I think it's like $2,000 or something. How much is the latest, what is the latest Samsung Fold phone? Fold 6. How much does this thing cost? $1,600. For $1,600, you could get a MacBook Air for $1,000, and then like, okay, I think an iPhone, and then an iPhone SE. You can get 2 devices for the price of 1. And I know that's like before trade-in or whatever, and I'm sure they give you like good trade-in deals, but like also I don't, like, I'm talking about market price, right? Or not the SE, what is it called? The 16E. Which, yeah, like, is it a good deal? No, it's not, but you're getting a fully functional phone with, from what I understand, good battery life, a decent screen, a decent, like, it's good enough at everything. And then you have, like, 2 devices that are pretty darn good at everything, instead of 1 device that's, like, kind of okay at most things and kind of sucky at other things. And that's the other experience, is that, like, there are certain apps that I use that are now just, like, exclusive to iPhone for some or the other reason. Some because they're paid and I've already paid for them and I'm not going to pay for them again. I think, off the top of my head, I use an app called CAD Rage a lot. I'm not paying for that app again if I ever switch to Android. Which I won't do because that app was like $20. And it's not that, like, actually, is CAD Rage even on Android? Wow. Cool. Early access version of Artemis Pro. This crappy Magic Viewfinder. There's no plans for an Android version. Wow. Okay, yeah. So CAD Rage. It's a viewfinder app that I use. That, actually, let me just show y'all. So, on my phone, if I'm on a job, right, and I know I'm going to be using a specific camera. So, and a specific set of lenses. So, for example, I recently shot my senior thesis on a red PSR. Here we go. On a red Komodo in the 6K 17:9 aspect ratio, and then I use the Cook Speed Pancros, which actually it's probably my favorites. Yep, there it is. And I use the Cook Speed Pancros, which are these, like, rehoused old vintage lenses. And I can, like, go into the app, and there's, like, oh, if I do this. So I can, like, use this as a viewfinder for what the camera is going to see. So if I put the 25mm lens on here, and the camera were right here, that is what the camera would see. I'm gonna turn my screen off so there's less glare. But yeah. Like, that's what I'm working with here. That's what I'm working with here, is like an app that allows me to, like, view what the camera's gonna see. And then if I put the 50 on it, then that's what the 50 is gonna see. And then if I put the 100mm on it, well, then that's what the 100mm is gonna see, right? And so I can, like, essentially I get to frame up a shot with the lens that I'm going to use before I even put the lens on the camera. So I could theoretically open up that app. I could select the camera and lens that I'm working with. It's especially good for, like, previs and, like, location scouting. I can put the camera and the lens combo package thing that I'm going to be using I can put that on CAD Rage, right? I can set that up. I can even favorite it. Like I said, I had a favorites because I used that. Like, I knew I was going to be using that for like months. I knew I was going to be using that exact camera package. So I set that up, and when I went to Location Scout, I just pulled out CAD Rage. When I went to go frame up for my next shot, I pulled out CAD Rage. Because I knew. Like, I knew that that's what I was going to, like, I already know the camera. I know the resolution and aspect ratio. I know what lenses, so it helps me frame it up without actually having to like move the heavy ass camera. And cameras can get heavy. My package was thankfully not that bad, but camera packages can get really heavy. So as an operator, I want to move the camera as little as possible when I don't have to, in terms of like saving my own body, like my physical body, the pain of having to deal with that. Because cinema camera packages can get pretty fucking heavy. I'm not switching back to Android. Don't get me wrong, I don't think Android is dumb tech, but I think Android is for people who care more about having the option, or more about, more people who care more that they're okay. This is gonna piss a lot of people off. I think Android is for people who care a lot more about having the option to do a lot of different things. And iPhone is just for people who want something that just works. Like, it just fucking works. And as far as like glitches go, I'm sure that people have run into bugs and whatnot. I don't know. I very rarely run into bugs, and when I do, I'm like, okay, that means the iPhone has been on for a little too long. Time to restart it. Like, the runtime has just been going for too long. I'll just restart the phone. like yesterday, all my apps were like reopening whenever I would close them. Like whenever I would swipe out. Like, they were still on the app switcher, and they were pretty recent. But basically, they were like clearing out of RAM quicker than than they normally do. I was like, that's kind of weird. So I just restarted my phone. And wouldn't you know it, problem solved. Which, by the way, would probably be the same, it would be the same solution if I had an Android. What I will also say is that people who are, hyper fans of either platform are the most fucking obnoxious people ever. Genuinely get a life. It is not that deep. And I see it, frankly, in my opinion, a lot more from Android users. At least maybe that's just the circles of the internet and what the algorithm is feeding me. That I see it a lot more with Android users than I do with iPhone users. I also, I guess, have the bias of everybody that I know, personally. Basically everybody that I interact with on a day-to-day basis is an iPhone user, and they're not annoying about it. So I guess I have that bias as well. But maybe I'm wrong, but at least from what I anecdotally what I see, Android users are super fucking immature about that shit. It's just a phone, guys. And once again, like I said, when it comes to if you're buying if you can only afford, say, a $300 phone, Android has a ton more options for you, and that's great. I think everybody should have options. I'm not saying that they shouldn't. But then, you're kind of comparing, I would say, apples and oranges a little bit in terms of what your phone does. Regardless, that's not really what I wanted to talk about. Phones are not dumb tech. Well, phones are kind of dumb tech, but what's on them is the dumb part more so than the phone itself. I Let me start with other stuff first. I'm really tired of like the simplification and by extension as a result the shitification of like everything. Like it's actually getting to a point where it's like annoying the crap out of me, because we're oversimplifying things that didn't need to be simplified in the first place. And my favorite example of this has got to be like the fact that every car has an iPad on it now. And it wouldn't be a problem to me if... here's the thing. I know it's because of Tesla, right? And my opinions on Tesla have changed over the years, but I still think Tesla as a car company, Elon notwithstanding, and we do not have to talk about him today, Elon notwithstanding, I think, I think a lot of what Tesla has done, they make good cars. Like, let me just put it that way. I like Teslas as cars. I think they're good because they are the only examples where all of these like things that they have done to the car market have actually worked. In the sense of, so every car having an iPad as its dash, right? Every car having an iPad as its dash. That's stupid. I hate it. I hate it a lot. Tesla is responsible for that stupidity. However, the one reason why it's okay on a Tesla is because the iPad actually fucking works. And I cannot express enough how annoying it is to get into a car now and see the iPad. And like I'm being so serious that I've gotten into Ubers where the driver of the car does not understand how it works. And I think if you are reaching that point where your driver does not, like the purchaser of the car doesn't understand basic functionalities within the car, you have failed. And I think that's like extra, like I think some consumer fucking, I don't know if it was Consumer Reports or JD Power or whoever the fuck, somebody did like a survey of like a bunch of people, and they were like, basically most people today who are like, I'm going to buy a car in the next 5 years, most people will not buy a car if it doesn't have CarPlay, like Apple CarPlay / Android Auto. And what does that tell you as a car manufacturer, as Ford or GM or even like Toyota or Honda or whatever? Because now Toyotas and Hondas have friggin' iPads, right? What does that tell you as a car manufacturer, that people would literally rather not buy your car than buy a car without, like, people would rather not buy your car if it didn't have Android Auto or Apple CarPlay? It can really only be telling you one thing, and that is that your software experience is ass. Like, it's garbage. And that, I mean, I would not want to be a car company that like has a bad software experience, which is why I think Tesla is the only one that's made it work, right? In Tesla's, the software experience is at least good. Like it's, you know, the iPad like situation, but everything on the iPad works. Like, it actually works as intended. Now, I will say there are certain things that, and this one actually is not Tesla's fault, because cars have been doing this since before Tesla decided to get rid of like the gear shift, right? Or like the Prindle, basically. You know, for context, I also drive a car that I think has an electronic Prindle. Every car these days, just because of how cars like work now, Because what used to happen was the Prindle was like manually connected. The stick in the middle of your car that you would use to shift between your gear selector, or your drive selector, I think is what it's called on an automatic car. But your gear shift, right? That used to be physically connected to the gearbox if you were driving a manual, and if you were driving an automatic, it would still be physically connected to the gearbox. It's just that you would have an automatic. You would have a automatic like system that was like changing gears for you, but it was still physically connected. It was an analog connection, and then we stopped doing that, which is fine because like with an automatic car it's not as necessary for it to be physically connected, and that's okay. I have no problem with that. But then we decided to do away with the stick altogether. And that's where you lost me, because like my car, right? I drive a 2012 Toyota Prius. I don't know that like I drive a Prius. I don't know that it's electric, like it's an electronic shift. Like I don't know that for sure. I'm like 99% sure that's an electronic shift. But even like even if it is, right? Oh damn. Anyway, even if it is an electronic shift, what it still has a stick in the middle. Like the 2012 Prius still has like a little stick in the middle where left and down is drive, left and up is reverse, just left is neutral, and down is like the L, or like low gear braking, basically. In the Prius, for some reason, it's a B. I don't know why. I don't care. But basically, it'll like limit you to low gears. It's the L of the Prindle. And then park is a button, right? Park is a button right next to the shifter. Honestly, if it was just park is a button, that would be perfectly fine. Oh, and it still has a manual, like, brake. Like, it still has, like, there's the brake pedal, but then it has, well, it's not a hand brake, it's a foot brake. But, like, it's just a pedal to the left. But it's a physical brake, right? It's a physical parking brake. I don't know why we got rid of these things, because the parking brake now is electronic. Why would, like, in many cases, right, that was even referred to, like the handbrake was referred to as the emergency brake. Like if your brake line from your like brake pedal, like something was off about your brake pedal and your brake line got cut, or it got like something happened to it, the e-brake, the handbrake was an override. It was an extra brake. It wasn't as safe. It wasn't as smooth. It wasn't for everyday use. Like you weren't supposed to be using that instead of your regular brakes. That is your emergency brake. If you need to brake, you pull the handbrake. In the Prius, you push the foot pedal, right? Why is that a fucking button now? Because what is that going to solve, right? Or like with there was a case where it's like, oh, the car continues to accelerate and the brake pedal isn't working. Well, there's a way to slow the car down, and that is by like essentially just like feathering the handbrake. Why would you get rid of the handbrake? What purpose does that serve? Right? Because, like, I understand wanting to, like, simplify stuff because, once again, the less mechanical points of failure there are, the less things can go wrong. And I get that. But now you've created it to where the problem that thing solved is no longer solvable. And I guess it just doesn't matter. Crash your car, total it, pay us money. I guess. I don't know. Or like freaking what's the other one? Now, Yeah, like now Tesla has got rid of the drive selector as a stalk by the wheel. They now have it where it's on the screen. That's fucking stupid. It's really stupid. And same thing with like the buttons. Now most cars have their gear select as like PRNDL buttons on the center console. No, just give me the stick. Because obviously you can develop muscle memory with buttons, but with the stick, you push all the way up and it's in park. You push basically all the way down and it's in drive, right? And usually what they did on a Prindle was that like you push all the way up, it's in park. You push all the way down, it ends up in drive, and then you can push even further to go into L. Or if you were parked, you just push one step down and now you're in reverse. Because it was always PRNDL, right? That was the point of the Prindle, right? So if you're in park and you need to reverse out of like a parking spot, or if you parked into your garage, you one step down, now you're in reverse, right? Why get rid of that? Like, why get rid of that? Because you're never going to be able to replicate the amount of like easy understandability of all the way up is car doesn't move, all the way down is car moves, and then all the way down is car moves. Technically L was below drive, but basically every Prindle locked out at D. And then if you wanted to go into L, you had to basically unlock it with the Prindle and force it into L, into further down low, right? But most of the times, you pull all the way down, it sticks into D. And then if you want L, you gotta push more. And that was so simple. Up, no move. Down, move. Easy. Hell, if you wanna put buttons in a car, I can even understand like the way the Prius does it is at least in some way understandable in that R was right below P, and there's a parking button. So you hit park, and the park button is above the shifter. So the shifter, like if I'm driving here, the shifter is here, and the park button is right there. So the park is still the most like vertical thing in the center console. But if I want to reverse, I still push up to reverse, and I still push down to drive, right? I have to go left and then down and left and then reverse, but like that's an easy enough understandable thing, and it's still connected to how the Prindle works, that like it's not that big a deal. Why the hell would you turn them into buttons? That makes no sense, because you would have to then like demarcate, like you'd have to define each button physically somehow, right? You'd have to have like dots on the thing where P is maybe a line, and then R is like 2 dots, and then N is like a dot and a line, and then drive is 3 dots, or like something physical that you can touch that would tell you this is reverse, this is park, this is neutral, this is drive, and this is low gear. You'd have to have something that tells you that physically, because unless you look down, you wouldn't know. And like when you're switching, there's no point. Like you can look down when you're in a situation where you need to switch. You can probably look down anyway, because when you're switching like that, you're probably in low speed scenarios where you can afford to do that. But why, right? Like why? Why would you do that? Because there's no point. There is no point. All you're doing is creating more work for your customer, like for the person driving the car, to relearn a new method by which to drive the car. Just let me fucking drive it, all right? And everything, like it feels like everything is getting worse in that exact same way, right? Because, like, okay, I have in my apartment a smart washing machine. It's an internet-connected washing machine, right? And it works. It's a Samsung washing machine. It washes clothes like any washing machine does. And the nice thing about it being smart is I get notifications when I go to wash my clothing, when I put it in the washing machine. I get notifications on my phone, and they just are delivered to me. It's a push notification. I get notifications from the SmartThings app. My clothes, my clothes has, like, the wash cycle is complete. And I even get notifications after, because, I have roommates. I even get notifications after a lot of those wash cycles have happened, like, hey, maybe run a cleaning cycle to keep this up, right? For maintenance, for just like general hygiene, run a cleaning cycle. You don't need to put any detergent in it for the cleaning cycle. We just get like really hot water and slosh it around in there for an hour and a half. But like run a cycle so like it doesn't smell, it works, and nothing's busted, and like, you know what I mean? So the thing will tell me, right? It'll give me notifications. Great. But it still has, at least, like, the best part about it, to both my washer and my dryer, the best parts about it are they have physical buttons. Well, okay, I shouldn't say that. My dryer has physical buttons. My washer does not have physical buttons, but its main interactable is a dial, right? To select the wash cycle, I rotate this dial to pick what wash cycle I'm going to use. So if I want it on normal, it defaults to normal, but then there's like heavy duty and bedding and speed wash and all these other things, and I rotate the dial until the light inside the dial lines up with whatever it is that whatever wash cycle I want to select. That part's awesome. The part that's not as awesome is the capacitive buttons that are on everything. It's not a real physical pushable button. It's a capacitive button. So it takes like my like when I push the thing, right? It's not actually pushing anything. It's just seeing like, oh, he pressed the general area of the button. And so it'll do that. Sometimes, though, it just doesn't realize that I've pushed the button, right? Now, with things like my washing machine, obviously, sometimes that's okay because I'm not, like, I'm not necessarily wearing gloves around the house where, like, my finger isn't going to register. But there have been times... it hasn't been with my washing machine. I'll tell you what it is. It's with my parents' new oven. Because here's the weird part. The microwave is still, like, buttons. It's not quite, like, physically, like, pushing in and out buttons. It's like a sheet. But there's still, like, switches underneath that when you press them, they're being pressed as a switch underneath that piece, right? My parents' oven, however, is not like that. Instead, it is fully capacitive. It is a sheet of either glass or plastic, I genuinely cannot tell, over all of the buttons, and there are no physical switches underneath. They're capacitive switches, where when you touch the thing, it'll push the button. Two things happen. One, they are not very good capacitive switches. So sometimes you will press the button and it just won't press. Luckily, I think that is the only thing that I have had issues with. Thankfully. In terms of like capacitive buttons not working. I think that's the only time I've ever had like a proper issue where it just won't press, right? But in the oven, like with the oven, sometimes you will want to press a thing, but like you have oven mitts on or you have gloves on because like I'll be washing the dishes or something, and then I'll go to press it and then it won't work because it doesn't work with gloves. And it's a fucking kitchen. Like you will have gloves on. You will have something covering your hands to where you can't press the button with your fingertip. And it just won't work because screw you, I guess. Like, is the answer, right? And that sucks. That's really annoying. And once again, like, I understand it, right? When you have physical things, when you have, like, physical switches, when you have, like, buttons that actually depress, when you have anything that has mechanical movement, that is a point of failure. So that is why, for example, electric cars need a lot less. That's why electric cars need a lot less. Oh, okay. Cool. That's why electric cars need a lot less. Yeah, you guys want to see some fireworks? Here. Boom, fireworks. Anyway, that's why electric cars have a lot less. Oh man, what's the word? Maintenance. That's what it is. They have a lot less like maintenance and service costs because there's just less moving parts. It's just battery, motor, wheel, done, right? Whereas gas cars have the engine that then turns the camshaft, that then turns the gears in the gearbox, that then sends the power to the wheels, or maybe it's the other way around. I don't remember exactly what the order is. I call myself a car person, but I'm a fraud. I just like cars, as in, like, I like that they move and they look pretty and go fast. And I like learning about some of the, like, very basic physics of them. Of, like, oh, yeah, the 4 stages of a combustion engine. Suck, squeeze, bang, blow. What a turbo is, what a supercharger is, what a CVT is, stuff like that. I'm not actually, like, super well-versed in each individual part of the car. But I do, one thing, I will say this right now, one thing I love about my Prius, user replaceable parts. That's pretty cool. I very recently had to replace the air filter on my Prius. Yeah, it's really easy. You walk into like any Advanced Auto Parts, they probably have the filter piece. It was like $20. You pop open the glove box. There's 2 little clasps on the side. You take those off, pull the old air filter out, put the new air filter in, put the glove box back in, bada bing, bada boom, you're fucking set. Like, you're done. It's super simple. And I think there's also an engine air filter that's also pretty user replaceable. And I know everybody says, like, oh, you can change your own oil. And I probably can. I probably can change my own oil if I really put my mind to it. I just need to, like, sit down and learn how to one day. But regardless, my point is, in saying all of, like, when I was talking about the car thing, right? More mechanical parts equals more points of failure, because mechanical things will inevitably break, right? Because not everything can last forever. It either due to cost reasons, they will like shortchange it, as in like make it out of just cheaper material, and cheaper material may break, or wear quicker and easier. Or like, I mean, nothing lasts, right? Everything will break eventually, because that's just how things work. As they continue to age, they get worse, and as they get worse, they get closer and closer to breaking. So when things get older, they break. That's not, like, my point is not that, like, I want everything to last forever. My point is that in the pursuit of simplification and the removal of mechanical things from systems, we have created new problems, and we have not found adequate solutions. So, for example, I mean, and that's the thing, is, like, I think it's also because that process of simplification happened at the same time as we pushed for minimalism. And I friggin' hate minimalism now. My favorite little thing about computers to this day is still a thing, is if you want to delete a file, You put it in on Windows, it's called the recycle bin, and Mac, it's called trash. And they've designed it to look like a little trash can. Right? They designed the thing to look like a little trash can. Or with like, what's the other part of it? Old iOS design especially had a lot of this where, there was like depth and shadows, and when you touched things, it moved in a very like physical way. Skeuomorphism, that's the word I was looking for. There's and there are things, by the way, on like modern day systems that still have like some skeuomorphicness to them. Like for example, like off the top of my head, on Macs, right? When you open an app and it's like starting up, it bounces on the dock until it settles. That's really cool. And it's like, it's such a little thing, but like having it just kind of like bounce is like having like watching like an athlete just like limber up, right? Like we've watched, like everyone's watched, maybe not everyone, but like people watch sports. You've seen athletes like prep for it. They'll usually just kind of like get loose before any sport. They'll do a little bit of practicing, and that little bounce, it just helps like understand, like it helps you connect with what is happening in the computer. So even little things like a download, right? Seeing the bar fill up. The bar is like never accurate in terms of like how much data is actually done, right? But when you see the bar filling up, you can like feel that it's getting closer to like being completed. Or same thing with like the bars on your phone. Like right now my phone has my phone is very smudgy from fingerprints, but my phone, oh well, you can't see it right now. Hold on. Yeah, I have 3 3 bars of service out of 4. And that's a holdover from like the cell phone, like the cell tower days where you would even get data and voice calls and whatnot from cell towers. And of course now we have like VoLTE, where it's voice over LTE protocols for everything. And so you're even sending like, or VoIP, right? Voice over internet. And now when we call people, it's usually through the internet. When we text people, it's through the internet. And we're not really using like the older cell tower systems anymore, unless you're using like SMS, or I think even RCS might be using those. I'm not entirely sure. But when you call people now, it's voice over internet, and then you use it while using cell tower as a fallback. Those bars don't mean anything in terms of your actual connection when it comes to like having cell service. They don't mean jack. But those bars exist for you to at least like understand, how your connection is. Does it mean anything to your 5G if your bars are at 3 out of 4? No, it doesn't. But somehow whenever my bars are at a 1 versus a 2 or a 3 or a 4, my internet on 5G is just like slower, right? Because I'm like in a basement and I'm not as well connected. So it's helping me like understand like little things, little like measurable ways that just help you understand what is happening, right? So like that, little things like that help out so much. But the problem is we started getting rid of stuff like that, and instead instead of, or even like how the save button was a floppy disk. I'm sure at some point like that was because it was actually being written to a floppy disk, but now it's not anymore, but we still keep it around. And now there's like kids out there who have literally never seen a floppy disk, and they just call it the save button. But like there was a time where design was made to be skeuomorphic. Design was made to, like, things were designed in a way that helped a person understand a thing that is happening and like that helped a person understand the thing that is happening. Even if it's not quite exactly the thing, you get at least enough of an understanding of that thing that is happening, to like be able to process, like, okay, that's what's going on. Now, because of minimalism, we've like stripped away so much of that, that we're now at a point, and the problem is with minimalism, we took away so much of that right as we were also simplifying everything else to cut out points of failure. So in mechanical systems, we started getting rid and gutting as much mechanicalness as possible, and at the same time, we were stripping away things that like helped people understand. Because here's the thing, you could very much design a fully electronic Prindle, right? Where, you know, obviously, like I said, in old cars, the Prindle was physically connected to the transmission and the camshaft or whatever the fuck, right? It was actually physically connected to something. With electronics, it's not physically connected anymore, but you could still just keep the joystick, right? You could just keep that. You could just keep buttons. That's a thought, right? Here's a crazy thought. You could just keep the buttons. You could just keep the dials. But because it's now cheaper to just move everything to software, now you have a ton of cars with friggin' iPads glued to the middle of them, and they all suck because the people making that software are quite literally just making like the most basic, like, does it work is literally their guideline. Like, does the software work? If so, it's fine. It doesn't have to be fast. It doesn't have to be responsive. It just has to do the thing eventually. And that has made the user experience on literally everything, not just cars, but that has made the user experience on literally everything just a touch worse. And I am not looking forward to the day when we simplify things to a point of unrecognizability, or worse, we simplify things to the point of like full like dystopia, right? I'm not looking forward to that day. I would hope that no one, frankly, is looking forward to that day. Because I feel like we're gonna get there eventually. Like, this is the cynic in me talking now, is we're gonna get to a day where you won't own anything and you will be happy. Because you have been conditioned to think so. And maybe it won't happen in my lifetime. Maybe it won't even happen if I ever have kids. Maybe it won't even happen in my kid's lifetime. But it will happen. I feel like it will happen eventually. We will get to a cyberpunk-ass, like, future. Where, you know, everything is like, corpoed to hell and back. I'm talking about, like doors that won't open if you don't pay the subscription. Shit, actually, now that I think about it, we're kind of already there. Like with smart locks, right? Actually, let's talk about smart home systems for a little bit. I actually really like, this is going to sound really dumb considering everything I just said, but I really like smart homes. I think the concept of the smart home system is actually really cool. To have, like be able to control everything without, like to be able to control everything through the internet, I'm totally cool with that. My parents' house is very smart home-ified. Both thermostats at my parents' house are smart thermostats. Because what that allows us to do, especially in winter or summer when it gets like really hot and really cold, right? Like we live in a part of the States where we fully experience all 4 seasons. And in the summer when it gets really hot and really humid, and then we leave the house to like go get groceries, or we leave the house to go to some of the other like event or party or whatever, some intimate get together, we can turn on, like we know we're gonna go back home and it's gonna be warm as hell when we get back home. We turn on the air conditioning from the place that we are, like from away from our house. We turn on the air conditioning so that by the time we get back, it will be where we need it to be, right? Or there are like smart thermostats that like learn your, or not even just learn, that like know your schedule, right? So they're tapped into your schedule and they know like, okay, you leave during this part of the day, and then they'll like adjust the temperature to reflect that. They'll adjust the temperature to be like, okay, well, if everybody's gone at say 8 a.m, right? Like back, this is pre-COVID, I think, is when we got our first smart thermostat. Maybe it wasn't pre-COVID, but regardless, say like you have a family that's all living together, right? Mom, dad, kids, and both parents head off to work, say around like 8 something. The kids are off to school at like 7:30, 8, around the same time. And like you all leave around 7:30. Excuse me. You all leave around like 7:38 ish, right? And then the thermostat can be like, oh, everybody has left the building, and it can turn itself off. Or it can set itself into like the eco temperature, which is like a lot lower, but it's like you'll save money by cooling your home to a lower temperature. That's not quite where you want it when you are in your house. And you all come back around, so the kids come back from school around, say like 3 p.m. or so, maybe a little later, call it 4 with like soccer practice or whatever the hell. They come back around, say, 4, and then it's like, okay, well, the thermostat understands that like people are going to be back in the house around, say, 4-ish, so it'll start preheating or pre-cooling the house to that certain, to like ramping it up to the temperature, and over time that will save you money instead of turning it off when you leave and turning it like off, and then turning it back on, and then it'll take less time to hit the temperatures that you want it to be at while you're there, like while you're in the house, right? So you don't have to waste time when you come back home, like freezing when it's winter out. You don't waste time freezing and waiting for the house to get back up to whatever temperature you've set it to. And you don't waste time like burning up in the summer when you're waiting for the house to cool down to whatever temperature you set it to. I think that like smart homes are like a good idea. I think they're smart on paper. Even other things, like I like smart lights. Let me check something real quick. I think they're smart on paper. Even other things, like I like, okay. Even other things like smart lights. I rock with smart lights. I think smart lights are really cool. I do. Because being able to like check and make sure some smart, well, I'll talk about that in a second, but like being able to check and make sure like, oh, did I turn the lights off when I left from anywhere is really nice. My parents have like a remote access security system where they can like arm the house from anywhere. And then some smart lights have like security modes where like you can have the lights themselves turning on and off even when you're out of the house to make it look like you're still in the house. Stuff like that. That's great. Like it makes your life easier. Or even being able to check from anywhere, like with smart like video doorbells, like Ring doorbells and shit. Like being able to check like, hey, I'm at work, thanks for coming, you can just put it on the patio or whatever, that's neat. Or if you have, say a Ring doorbell and you're away and somebody's coming up with a package, and you live in an area where there's recently been like a string of porch pirates, you can tell them like, hey, thanks for coming. If you could put that package like in this designated zone, like this designated secure zone, that would be perfect. That's a neat feature. Or like being able to tell. I mean, this is more for like, say, parents. Being able to tell like, oh, the kids made it home from school all right, right? Having those options is really nice, because before we had those options, you just kind of had to live with it, right? And there are other things that you can do. Like, for example, I live in an area right now where, we've had packages get taken off our porch. There are ways around it. You can always just tell the Amazon, like, you can put it in like the Amazon delivery instructions, like, hey, put it inside the front door, and then give them the front door code or something. Or I know that's what like my upstairs neighbors do all the time. Or like fucking there are ways to work around that. It's like, oh, you can have your child just text you that they made it home. Or shit like that. And having those options is awesome. Or rather, like those are alternatives to the smart home life, but I mean, it's whatever. Yeah, I mean, like having the smart home thing and having it automated to some extent is pretty cool. I rock with that. The part that I hate is, and this is at Google specifically, is just how like worthless Google as a company is when it comes to supporting things, because apparently they're deprecating the Google Assistant, right, and they're replacing the Google Assistant with Gemini. But here's the problem: Gemini is like not on the Google Home or the Google Nest system at all, right? The Google Nest system is still using Google Assistant, and at least it seems like for the foreseeable future is going to continue to. So what that's going to mean is that you're going to have households and households of people, because the Google Nest like system has sold decent units. Many units of Google Nest Mini. Sold. Google states, this is from their own thing. This is from their AI overview, but it looks like they're pulling from the Wikipedia and a Gizmodo article. While there isn't a precise public number for exact Google Nest Mini unit sales, Google states that the Google Nest Mini, along with other Google Home products, the Google Home, the Google Hub, the Google Home Hub, and the Google Home Mini, have sold over 52 million units, and it's worth noting that the Nest Mini was a successor to the Google Home Mini. The Google, like, and I mean, I don't know if they've ever, like, actually, I don't know if they've ever actually, like, said, like, the exact amount of sales. Like, hold on. Google Home sales numbers. Okay. Sure, we'll do this. Google Home sales numbers. It looks like, I think it says, so, okay, market share wise, right? Market share-wise, Google holds 20% of the global smart speaker market, and it's 27% of the market in the U.S. The Amazon Echo still is like the highest, like with Alexa, but it looks like the Google Home app has been installed more than 500 million times, and about 27% of the market in America is Google's. I would assume that that's quite a few, since it looks like I'm going to pull up the Statista page because I don't trust AI. And you know what? We're going to talk about, trust me, we're going to fucking talk about AI. So, confirm my choices. For unlimited access. Well, fuck you. Okay. Show source. Oh, alright. Well, I guess I need to have a Statista account to even see this. But, anyway. God damn it. No, I can't download it at all. I can't see sources. I can't see publisher information. Okay. Well, okay, so this is from 2019, so this is a while ago. I would suggest, at least, I don't think that there are any, I don't know if there's any hard numbers anywhere about it, but I would think that the Google Home is probably doing pretty well in terms of sales numbers, right? They probably sold quite a few of those things. As a result of those sales, right, I think, like I said, I think they've probably sold quite a few. And I don't know if any of them are computationally capable of working with Gemini, right, their AI platform. And that's worrisome because they're trying to fold Google Assistant into Google Gemini, which means that if and when Google Assistant goes down, all of these products might go down. Which is going to suck for Google Home customers, because that means they're going to likely have to upgrade to whatever the newest, they might release a new model that's Gemini compatible. Mind you, they're still selling these. They're still selling the Google Nest Hubs and the Google Nest Hub Max and the Google Nest Mini or whatever, like all of the different like Google Home platform items. They're still selling them. I don't think they've stopped. I don't think they took them off the shelves, even though Google Assistant is going to stop. But then these things can't, to my knowledge at least, they can't support Gemini. And then on top of that, if they did make new ones that supported Gemini, Google is always very closed off when it comes to revealing or talking to the customer about this kind of stuff. And so I think me, somebody who's relatively still tapped into the tech sphere, is gonna know oh, they're deprecating Google Assistant and it's gonna be Google Gemini from sometime later this year. But the average consumer, or for example, I know my grandparents have a Google Nest at their houses to turn off the control their lights and tell them about the weather because they go out sometimes or something like that. They have these Google Nest systems to learn about things and control smart devices. They're not tuned into this stuff. They don't care. They just need a thing that works. And right now it does, but soon enough it might not. And that's a problem because I don't think my grandparents are the only ones that are like this. I would assume, honestly, that a lot of the people that bought these things are no longer keeping up with the new models and making sure they're super up to date on everything that they're owning and all that shit. No, they don't fucking care. Most people don't care. Most people do not care if they have stuff that is working and works and continues to work. They won't upgrade it. They won't research it. They won't know anything about it. So if Google changes it randomly, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I think I really do think that there's just gonna be there might just genuinely be a thing where Google Google just decides, let's say, that oh, we're gonna get rid of Gemini, and then it's just gonna happen, and everybody's stuff is gonna stop working, and then Google's gonna have a massive fashion metal riot on their hands because they have to tell everybody, hey, switch and buy our new thing, but people don't want to buy the new thing. It's like, what was wrong with the old thing, right? And the answer is nothing. And I really don't like that. Like, I will say, I think progress is good. Like, I don't want to sit here and say that progress is bad. Or, like, for example, now here, let's start talking about AI. Because I think when we start talking about progress, I think it's kind of inevitable that we hit this point where we start talking about AI. I think that AI is an extremely broad topic, first of all. At least from whatever research and, information I have on it, AI, or like artificial intelligence, is an extremely broad concept because there are many, 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 many different things that could be classified as AI. I think what most people are thinking of when they think of AI is like consumer level, easily approachable, multimodal and diffusion generative models of AI. Stuff like ChatGPT, stuff like Google Gemini, stuff like what's the other one? Ask Jeeves. No. Or like Siri, right? Or well, not Siri. Well, what Siri's supposed to be getting, but like AI in the sense of like it's it's consumer facing. It's not a business thing. It's not a corporate thing, and it exists to essentially eat and compile data and then spew it back out at you in a way that makes sense. And I think that stuff sucks. Like I'm gonna say it right now. That stuff sucks. Like from the bottom of my heart, that shit is trash, garbage, shit from a butt. There is absolutely no universe, I think, in which AI as it is currently being designed is a consumer AI as it is currently being designed, consumer generative models as it is currently being designed is a net positive for the world. I don't think there is any universe in which it is a net positive for the world. For a few reasons, right? One, it is entirely unsustainable in terms of the amount of power and resources that it consumes, the amount of energy needed to run it, the amount of space needed to run it. It takes so much space, data, water, electricity, and we don't have enough for us. Like, we don't have enough for humans already. And now you also want enough for the computer to do it? Like, nah. Respectfully, nah. It's unsustainable from a resource perspective. But it's also, like, just not good for us. And this gets into larger problems I have about, the internet and what it has done to people. I will tell you this right now. I hate algorithms. I hate them. I hate all of them. YouTube's sucks. Instagram sucks. TikTok extra sucks. In the sense of, like, it is bad for you. The algorithmic internet is bad for you. Because when you are served things, and I've already seen it happen, when you are served things algorithmically, there are, I guess, bubbles that form. I guess anecdotally, I'll give you a few examples. I have relatives on Facebook and other social media platforms. I am not on Facebook, but I have relatives who use Facebook, and they were, during the last presidential election, Kamala Harris supporters. And they saw a lot of groundswell for Kamala Harris. Here's the problem. The internet was full of groundswell for Trump, right? The internet was full of forums and forum posts and other things and whatnot that were very pro-Trump. And obviously the election went how it went. And however we feel about that, the bottom line is that these relatives were caught off guard by just how much support Trump got, because they didn't see it because of the algorithm, right? The algorithm feeds you the echo chamber. The algorithm feeds you what you want to see, what you want to hear. And because of that algorithmic feed, you know, there were, like, I had many relatives who, like I said, they didn't see it coming. Mainly because they weren't looking. And I can't really blame them for not looking, because we've been conditioned now by the internet to not have to look anymore, because everything is served to us by the algorithm. And I think that's bad. And going back to AI, I think it's also hitting a point with AI where, you know, we're being served things. We're being given a lot of stuff, and because we've been trained to not question it, because we've been trained to not think about it, it is affecting us very poorly. And I think the best example of this is, you know, the amount of... Well, I'll give you a personal example. I have friends who I am currently in class with in college who used ChatGPT on papers. And the problem with ChatGPT is that it will just make shit up. Not only in terms of the AI hallucinations or whatever, but also they use ChatGPT to make, help write their paper, and to make sources for that paper. But here's the problem with that. It's kind of really stupid to do that. It just is. It's really stupid to do that, because ChatGPT will not cite its sources if you ask it to. Instead, it will make up sources. So your citations will be properly formatted citations for shit that does not exist. And that's what happened, is they made fake citations, essentially, and got caught. And, that sucks. It does. That's a really rough... That's just really rough. I have nothing else to say to that. And, that professor was luckily still, relatively chill about the whole thing. In that he was like, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and assume that, the reason that you are... assume that the reason that your sources are, kind of fucky-wucky is because, maybe you just didn't format it correctly, or maybe something's, a little bit off. But official AI policy from the university is kind of up in the air, and so it's kind of just instructors can do what they want, and his AI policy was very much no AI. And so they got lucky that he didn't care, but that specific time. He was not really that bothered by it, but you know, that's a thing that you got to look out for, because not everybody is going to be that nice all the time. You gotta get lucky with that shit, and they did that time, but they're not always going to. And I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm saying that that is a thing that they have to consider. And they ended up okay. That's like they did end up fine, right? But that's a problem. Like that is a problem that will inevitably happen when shit like that goes down. Like it will become a thing until we decide to not make it a thing. Is that gonna put me? Yes, it is. So the thing that I'm looking for is somewhere in between. Yeah, like it's gonna be a thing until we figure out a way to not make it a thing. Same thing with like I said, I think my biggest problem with AI as a whole, like I've said before, was just like it's caused us to stop thinking, right? And that's not good because when we stop thinking, we do really dumb shit and we say really dumb shit, and it is a very bad time to be saying really dumb shit. It's a bad time for misinformation to reign. So I'm not very happy about a lot of dumb AI, a lot of dumb tech. I'm really not happy about a lot of it. And I don't think it'll get better, mainly because I don't think anybody really cares about making it better. And that's not me being like, oh, nobody cares about like nobody cares about making it. I'm sure there are people who are like, we should really consider the ethical nuance of AI and all this other stuff, right? Yes, there definitely are people like that. I'm not saying those don't exist. Here's the problem. The people on top don't care. Like the people at the top don't care about that. Because AI has now become the buzzword that allows everybody to make a quick buck. And that is kind of where we are right now. Not just with AI, but like that's the state of technology overall. Is we're just in a place where everybody's not really out to make something good. They're out to make a quick buck. And that's rough. Yeah, I mean, like that's not great. Not a good feeling. It's really not a good feeling. But it is what it is. And I think we might figure out a way. But not necessarily the most like optimistic about us figuring that out. I hope we do. Be pretty cash money if we do. I'm not entirely sure we will. Anyway, I've been going on for an hour and a half. I think I'm gonna end it here. I think that was a good place to end it too. Yeah, nice little yap sesh. It's been a rough week. I had to finish color work on my senior thesis. Luckily, it is done. So, I'm thinking I'm kind of over that project. I do have one last thing to do for that project, and that is make a little thank you video for all of the donors. But it is certainly, I'm certainly at a place where I'm putting that very much in the rear view mirror now, which I'm glad to be at that place. So. Alright, I'm gonna sign off. I'm gonna go away now. Peace out, everybody. Have a good night.